Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Robbie the Painter here, and I'm starting a new series. It's called the Beginner Series. It's going to focus on teaching you guys the basics if you've never picked up a paintbrush, if you've never done any artwork. Anyway, this first episode on the Beginner Series is the idea, also known as what do I paint? That's the million-dollar question. You know, it keeps me up at night sometimes. What do I paint? Other times I get an idea, one subject, one thing, and then I start building what the rest of the painting is going to look like around that. Without getting too complicated, I want you guys, if you're going to start painting, to pick one thing as your idea. It could be a tree, it could be a rock, it could be a lake, one thing, and that's what we're going to focus on. Let's say your idea, we're just going to use an example. Let's say you're out there and you say, Rob, I want to paint a tree, one tree. That's my idea. The whole painting is going to be one tree, based around one tree. Don't worry so much about where you're placing your idea. All right, next thing I want to touch on real quick before we start with your idea is the paints. Now I just have a couple on the canvas here. We're going to take that tree idea as our subject matter. We're going to say we're doing a tree. That's as simple as it gets. I've got black, I've got sap green, I've got titanium white, and I've got blue. This is Prussian blue, but you use phthalo blue, cerulean blue. You could use any one of the blues and that will work. You don't need a lot of paint. You don't need to squeeze out half the tube. Less is better. Less is more. You can always add more paint to your paint palette. And this is one of those cool paint palettes. I got this from my neighbors, Holly and Terry. These are sheets that peel off. So when you're done using this, instead of wiping and having to clean everything up, you peel this off and throw it away. It's nice and simple. Okay, let's get back to our idea. I'm assuming there's going to be some sky, right? Even if your idea that you've come up with is one lone tree, you're still going to have some sky. We need to put that sky on behind the tree, right? The tree doesn't go behind the sky. Let's dip into a little mineral spirits and let's dip into our Prussian blue and let's come up here. We're going to say we got a sky. All right, I'm going to wipe that off. That's plenty of blue. Let's go into our white and let's come up here and work in a little bit of white. Now, because I'm using the odorless mineral spirits, which is a lot like paint thinner, this paint is very thin right now, so we can move it around. We can just move it around. I'm just going different directions. I'm not doing any pattern, I'm just scrubbing it back and forth. Now, if you don't like this blue, it's too blue, bring some of that down here, wipe it off. Look, it's just a mess. That doesn't look like a sky, you think? But we're gonna grab a paper towel. Here's where the paper towel comes in handy. Let's take our paper towel. Let's just rub some of this off. There we go. It's a sky. We're not going to worry about clouds. Again, beginner series. We're going to keep this simple. Put a little blue, put a little white, moved it all around, wiped most of it back off, but we still see the blue sky. We mixed up midnight black, sap green. Let's do our tree. We've got our fan brush. Let's come up here. We're going to keep our brush vertical and draw a line down, just like that. You guys can do that, right? And then we're going to take the corner of our fan brush, and this is only one way to do a tree, but we're going to come up here to the top and put a little mark, a small mark. We don't want something big like that. We're not doing this at the top. Remember, trees tend to be kind of triangle shaped, pyramid shaped, all right? So we're gonna keep that idea that our first branches at the top are smaller. And we're just gonna touch on the left, touch on the right, touch on the left, touch on the right, touch on the left, touch on the right. You notice I'm getting a little bit wider as I go down so we can get that shape of the tree that we want. Grab a little more paint. You're going to run out of paint. Don't be afraid to use some paint. Back to the left, back to the right, back to the left, and back to the right. And sometimes you see how I'm tapping? I just tap as I go back and forth. We're not going to stop tapping. We're just going to keep this brush going, and I'm going to keep my hand moving. Watch this. We're going to come right off of this branch I just put on, tapping, moving to the right, tapping, moving to the left, tapping, moving to the right, tapping, moving to the left. You get the idea. Till we get down here at the bottom. There, we have a tree, okay? There's some ground he's sitting on. Now, if you follow along with what I just did, a sky and a tree, you're halfway to painting. You can do this. And I'm sure there can be instances where you might get frustrated and maybe you say, well, Rob, my tree didn't turn out like that. I did my tree and it looked like this. It's okay. It's all right, because it's not the last tree you're going to do. You're going to have a chance to do another one and another one and another one, and you will get better. That was one way of making a tree, using the fan brush and going back and forth like I just did. Let's say we want to do another tree. Let's make another one right next to this one. Same thing. Let's make the trunk first, okay? Got that so far? Let's say this one is another evergreen, but it's a little different shape. I don't know what type this is. We're making this up. I'm showing you that you can do different kinds of trees. So we're going to tap on the left and the right, and left and the right, and drop down, and maybe come out a little wider. Grab some more paint and come out here on the left, and then a little on the right. And let's put his little trunk back in. And where's the ground? Let's draw a line underneath him, and we give him something to stand on. There's another type of evergreen. It looks different than that one, and I don't know what that is, but there's all kinds of different evergreens. All right, let's do another tree. I know we said your whole concept was one tree. We're still doing one tree at a time. We're just going to do a couple. I'm going to show you a couple different ways to do a tree, okay? That's what we're going to do. We're staying in the midnight black sap green. I like this darker color. Let's do another type of tree. Let's start up here at the top. Let's come straight down again. A little bit bigger, little bigger tree, all the way down here. Let's say he goes right off the top of the canvas. Ooh, the wind is a-blowing and it's snowing outside right now, so got that going on. All right, we've got the trunk. Here's another type of tree. And you know what? I didn't change from the fan brush. I probably should grab a liner brush or a flat brush. But let's say all I have is a fan brush to use. Can we make this work? Well, I'm going to hold this fan brush, and we're going to come down here and put a limb on. And we're going to come over here and bring another limb in. Grab some more paint. Sometimes you'll need to dip into your paint thinner or mineral spirits. That's what thins this paint down. You guys have heard me talk about linseed oil, paint thinner, mineral spirits. Anything you mix with a paint is called a medium. You know, you'll hear art teachers or other artists talk about the medium and all this lingo they start throwing around. All a medium is what you mix with the paint to kind of thin it out. You can put paint directly from the tube onto your canvas. It's not going to move very far. It's thick, really thick. So you want to thin it down with something. So we're dipping into the mineral spirits. Let's put another branch or limb on this tree. And this one comes down like that and comes in. And you notice I'm not doing straight limbs. Make it curve. You could start from the tree and come out like that. Sometimes I like starting out here and coming back towards the tree. We're just putting a few limbs on this tree, and I'm showing you how to do another type of tree. Now, if I was gonna make this tree even cooler, I'd probably grab a liner brush and do that. If you have a liner brush, grab it. Make sure your paint is thin with a little bit of mineral spirits into that black. A little bit of green, keep that dark. It's like a really dark green. It's pretty. All right, with our liner brush, now we pick one of these branches and we come off. We start on the branch itself with a little bit of pressure. And as we move away, we take our hand away. You're making your smaller branches and then pull it away. So you get a little point at the end. That's what we're doing. You want a very light touch. You don't press down real hard. All it takes sometimes is just a little flick. And what I mean by that is, watch. I put my paintbrush down on the trunk right here and flick, 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 flick. Pick a branch and flick. I'm running out of paint. As soon as you don't see anything flicking on the canvas as you lay it on there, grab some more paint. Flick, flick, flick. And you can do as many of these as you want, worst few. But a lot of trees, have these smaller ones. And sometimes you can, instead of flicking, you put a little S into it, a little curve. You zigzag around as you come off the branch. Putting branches and limbs and twigs and stuff like that on your tree shouldn't be anything to be scared of. And this is the other thing that I tell you guys, when you're watching my episodes and I tell you to stand back as I'm painting, I say stand back and look. When you're right up here, your face is right up at this tree we just put on, you can't see if it looks bare in one area. Like this may look really cool with all these little, smaller branches you put on. If you stand back, you might go, oh, there's a limb that doesn't have any on it. But you didn't see that standing up close. So that's why I always say stand back and look and see if your tree looks good. You need to leave it alone or you want to add some more to it. So this is a good time to do that. I think that's not a bad looking bare limb tree. So here's 3 different types of trees. I just showed you how to make the classic pine tree right here. Here's another type of pine right here. And then here's a bare limb. Let's grab a 1-inch brush, get a little paint thinner on it, go back into that dark color, the black, the green. And we're just dabbing that in. Hopefully this is going to be thin enough. We'll see if this works. So we're going to come up here and we're just going to touch this 1-inch brush up here by these limbs. We're just going to touch. I'm not pressing very hard, at least not yet. You always start with a lighter hand. If you're not sure what's going to happen when you put your brush, doesn't matter what you're painting. It could be a house, could be a little shack or a barn or a tree or a lake or some bushes or whatever. If you're not sure, don't go in really hard on, pow. Use a light touch to see what it does. If no paint comes off, press a little harder. But all we're doing is touching. And touching. See where these little limbs we just put on? See how this one out at the end? I'm going to put some leaves out here at the end of it. Here's one right here. Here's one here that might have some leaves. And some of these leaves go across the main trunk. Grab some more paint, come up here. And I'm not putting leaves everywhere. You notice I'm not covering up every bit. We still want to see our sky through those leaves, at least in some spots. We can thicken this up if we want, but we want to see some of that sky. Grab some more, a little bit of paint thinner. I don't want to get this too thin or my leaves are going to run right off the canvas. But I'm looking at where I just drew in these little tiny branches. Maybe these at the bottom don't have any leaves on them. Maybe our leaves only come down so far. It's up to us to decide. But you get the idea. And I just stood back and I looked at the tree and I thought, does it look bare anywhere? Does it look like I'm favoring one side? One side has a lot of leaves and the other one doesn't? I don't know until I stand back. If it looks good, then I leave it alone. I think what we've got right here is a pretty good looking tree. This tree here is number 3 and number 4 on the list of trees I just showed you how to make. This one was bare limbed. And you can leave it alone like that. Maybe you're painting, you want just, a bare limb tree. If you want to put leaves on it, we use the same color, midnight black, sap green, and we just put some leaves on there. You with me so far? I hope so. You can do this. And you know what? Your tree may not turn out exactly like mine, maybe a little bigger, the trunk's wider or whatever. Again, it'll be better the next time. and better the next time. And the more you do it. Watch this video over and over as I show you how to make the trunk and how to do this one and how to do this pine tree. Watch it again. You'll get that idea. All right, let's say we've got our tree in here and that, and we've got some ground here. Something for these guys to stand on. I'm just taking this big brush and kind of moving it back and forth. Do you know what we just created? Remember this little triangle pyramid tree down here I said that was a mistake? Oh, Rob, what if my tree looks like this and it's just a big kind of mess put down there? We're going to use it right now. It's the shadow of this big tree on the ground. We're creating a shadow right now. We're just going to take and move this paint around like that. And we don't know where this goes off, over here someplace. While we're doing the trees, if you were doing bushes, same kind of thing. You do some little clusters of leaves. Okay, so we took our 1-inch brush, same color that we're using on all of this, and we just tapped the indication of what looks like maybe a bush. And you're probably saying, well, Rob, a bush has branches too. And yes, it does. It's just shorter. A bush is a miniature tree, kind of, sort of. Let's take our liner brush and let's make a little trunk for this bush. And maybe our trunk comes down like this and like that. Comes out here. And this side comes over here and comes down. And this one has a little branch that comes up here. We need something to hold up these little ones up here. Let me grab some more dark, more into the black. And we're just going to put the indication of some branches up here that kind of connect. Connect these clumps of leaves up here. All right. And what do we do after we're done making a tree or a bush? They got to have something to stand on. Let's put some ground underneath them. So we're going to grab that 1-inch brush again. Let's see, maybe comes in from over here, right underneath. Something like that, okay? We're not really doing a painting here. I'm just showing you how to paint trees and bushes, step by step, one at a time, little by little. And all we did was put a sky, so we had some color in the background. Anyway, we're gonna end this first episode, the beginner series, with this, the trees, and how to put a sky in, a simple sky. All right, I'll see you on the next episode of beginner series. Bye-bye.